Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Makers Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer, and today with me, I have an amazing human being. She's been everywhere in our community, and I thought that it is time for her to be here. It is definitely my pleasure to introduce you guys to Kristina Saelee. And Christina, I hope I said that right. Did I say that
Yes,
correctly? Perfect.
yes.
All right. So Christina's topic is really important. So I want to make sure you guys are paying attention to this and taking notes. So please stop multitasking and basically pay attention. Christina, can you tell our audience members a little bit more about what you do and how you got involved doing what you do?
Yes. Thank you for having me. And a little bit about what I do is I'm a parent coach. I help parents whose teens are struggling with depression. And I help them learn how to connect with, support, and advocate for their teen who's struggling. And I do that through my 5 steps to everyday grace parenting program. And so those steps are outlined in the GRACE acronym. So G being genuine connections, and R being I'm oh gosh, the regulating emotions. Sorry about that. And then the A is approaching solutions. The C is um gosh, why am I having a brain fog today? Is those connections, and the E is effective advocacy. And so through those 5 steps, we're able to support our teen through the challenging time of experiencing depression, and we do that by really connecting and supporting them.
So, Christina, how did you get involved doing this? Because teen depression is not the first thing that comes to people's minds, although unfortunately nowadays it seems to be more and more on the rise. And it's not just depression, there's anxiety and these other factors that are affecting mental health. Sometimes we see it even in the news. So, how did you get involved with this?
Yeah. So it started with, I had been a parent educator, a positive discipline parent educator for quite a few years, and had already parented my two eldest sons through adolescence when my daughter was a teenager and started struggling with depression. And I already had a background in mental health, but even with my background in mental health and my experience with positive discipline, I still struggled to know how to best support her. And I struggled to find support out there that was for parents like me who, may have some information about parenting. But what did that look like for me? Like, positive discipline is all about kind and firm parenting. But I was like, what does kind and firm look like when you're, talking about a teen who's saying they can't go on anymore, or they're engaging in some really scary, risky behaviors like smoking marijuana and driving, or, and so that's actually, was first my personal experience with my own teenager who was struggling. And then it was my experience in the mental health field with parents who were like, I've been to the parenting classes, but when they're talking about their worst problem is their kids aren't getting along or they're not doing their chores, I don't feel like I have a space for me and what I'm dealing with. So I decided to create this program that was going to really help support the parents whose teens were really struggling and needed additional support.
So this is something that is already on the parents' radar. This is not something like how to find out if your child is depressed or not. So the parents already know, the kids have acknowledged it, that this is truly going on and they're struggling with it. Is that correct?
That that is who I find ends up coming to me. Now my opt-in free gift on my website is a 10 ways to distinguish between a typical teenage phase and teen
Mhm.
depression, because I think it starts there where sometimes we're not sure what's going on. Maybe our child is, shutting themselves in their room, and we hear that's normal or common during the teenage years, or they're sleeping a lot, and we hear that happens during adolescence where they need more sleep. And so we're kind of confused between, is this a typical teenage phase, or is something more going on? And so I start there with parents who have that question. But I do find that most of the parents that do come to me for coaching already have some sort of diagnosis, already are on the path, but just feel like, maybe their child is in therapy, but they're still having a hard time connecting, and they're still having a
Mm.
hard time knowing what their role is in supporting them, and how to advocate the health system and the school system. So yeah.
So in your opinion, when we have this situation, is it the expectation of the child to seek help or ask for help from their parents, or do they kind of shy away from input from their parents? And like you said, what is the parent's role in this? Do they instigate and approach this, or is this something that you immediately hand over to the professionals?
Yeah. So, a lot of times when our teens start struggling with depression, they may not know what's going on and how to ask for help. And maybe, the relationship between them and their parent is in a place where it's not a deep connection. Maybe they've started, shutting themselves out, and the parents aren't sure how to connect. And so really supporting them in getting that help is falls on us parents, right? And we're not sure exactly what's going on. Maybe a teacher has approached us with some concerns, but we're not sure what those next steps are. Maybe we've gone ahead and initiated, looking for a counselor or something, but we're just not sure. Maybe that counselor's not coming to us with what we can do. There's some great therapists out there that do communicate with the parents, and give them some parent coaching, but there's a lot who don't, and a lot kind of shut you out, and they're like, I'm working with your teen, I can't tell you. And and so it
Right.
makes it very difficult to know what to do next. So everyone's experience can be a little bit different, but I think it's really important that us parents too have some support during this time, because it can be very stressful when you're so worried about your child, um, and you're spent can't sleep at night because you're worrying, and you're not sure what to do, and so you need someone to talk to you and to support you on how you can be the best parent for your child in that time as well. And so I think that's what's so important about coaching, is so that you have that support, because I think that was one of the biggest things I found when I was going through it as a parent with my daughter, is that I wasn't really invested in my own self-care, and it took such a toll on me, that it created challenges for me being there. But then I did go and reach out to my own parent coaches, and just having that support and reminded me, like, don't forget about taking care of yourself so that you can be there for them.
Absolutely. So, Christina, first of all, thank you so much for bringing this matter to light, because oftentimes people don't discuss this. They don't discuss this outside of their homes or to their peers, or, like you said, parents with their friends and families. So it's really important to actually have these kind of conversations and dialogues. So thank you for doing what you do, speaking out about these things. I have a question that kind of goes back to what you were mentioning regarding social support. Do these children have a good peer support, and or is it a case of not having that, or is it a case of having bad influence? In your expertise, what do you see when they're coming to you? What type of social structure is there for them? And then also same thing for the parents, because they always are giving and they forget about themselves, like you mentioned. But
Mhm.
also, how can parents role model that social support behavior for their child?
Yes, I love that you asked how can they role model, right? Because it does start with us modeling. So that's why I talk to parents about how important self-care is, because you need to model that for your tween as well when they are struggling, that they're seeing from you and how you're taking care of your needs. And then also getting that social support, right? Because a lot of times when they start struggling, it is a lack of connection. That lack of connection could be at home, it could be in the social environment, it can be amongst peers. Maybe they are having a hard time making friends. Maybe for my daughter, she actually was an elite gymnast, but started struggling with depression and felt like she couldn't continue um, um, participating in sports anymore. So then she kind of
Mhm.
lost herself, and her identity had been as a gymnast. And so that, and who knows what was first? Was it the symptoms of depression that caused the burnout? And so she, ended up quitting gymnastics, or was it the fact that she quit gymnastics and lost that identity that led to the path of depression? It could go either way, but that is so important to point out how important that social network is. So encouraging our tweens to be engaged in whether it's sports or and some sort of extracurricular activities they're interested in, whether it's writing or music or something is so important. But then on the other hand, we see where our teens can get too much into online activity, right? Because they look for support there, and then that has a double-edged sword too, where it can be a coping mechanism but turns out not to be the healthiest either. So yeah, being that support for your child and helping them find the support, and then them seeing you that you're getting the support that you need as well, it all goes hand in hand.
Beautiful. So, what would be the first step? Actually, first of all, what would be the first step for, like, you have this situation, where do you start? Because sometimes it can also be overwhelming. So, where do you start with all of this? What do you tackle first?
I always believe that it comes first to relationship, right? So taking the time to learn the skills and strategies to really build on that connection with your child. So that's why I'm always talking about like connection, because I know when it was hard with my daughter, I was like, I had to remind myself to focus on the relationship and not the behavior. And a lot of times when one is struggling with a mental health problem such as depression, it's because of a lack of connection. And then we go and push that connection away, right? That family away, those friends away, and then it becomes even more of a lack of connection. So learning how to build that connection is always critical to a first step, because the more you have a stronger connection, the more they will open up and talk to you about what they're going through. And that is so important, because I know as scary as it was going through with my daughter, and she was struggling with suicidal ideation, but the fact that she could come to me and let me know I'm having these thoughts, I'm having these feelings, that gave me enough of a sense of safety that I could be proactive and be like, go get her the support that she needed, you know. And then, as you're working through that relationship, then you go about getting that support, whether it's in the schools, whether it's a counselor, whether it's, other social networks and stuff. But it starts with that relationship.
Beautiful. And you talk about relationship, and so naturally, I'm pretty sure a lot of parents right now are thinking, well, teenagers usually we don't associate building relationships at this stage because they don't want anything to do with their kids, with their parents. They want to establish their own identity. So, can you elaborate a little more about what might be some of the ways that they can actually go ahead and establish relationship and connect with their teenage kids?
Yes, that's a great question because I think that is how a lot of us feel like they don't want anything to do with us anymore. But you know what? They do. They really do. It's just how we go about it. They want to spend time with us, but they don't want to be lectured, right? They want to do something with us, but they want to do it on their terms and what they enjoy. So that quality time is still very important. And even though their friends might be a higher priority, they still want that time with us, but they don't want to be lectured. They don't want to be in conflict. They want to do things that they enjoy. So, really taking the time to sit down and talk to them, what are your interests? What are some things that you would like to do together? It might be playing video games. It might be, doing each other's hair or nails or, depending, but doing something that they enjoy and making sure that it's a time where you're just asking those curiosity questions, getting to know them, showing them that they're important instead of, making it a time to lecture them more about how they should be doing this or doing that differently, or so that's key. This is how what you do with that time you do spend together.
Beautiful. I'm loving this conversation. I know that we can go a lot further and a lot deeper into each of these. Christina, what would be a good way, because we're talking about relationships, what would be a good way for our audience and the parents that are here to connect with you, establish a relationship, and follow you around?
Yes, definitely go to my website, empoweredparenting.family. And that's where you can get, free resources and videos and blogs and all the information that you need to help you begin that journey of being the best support for your teen who's struggling that you can be. Yeah.
So beautifully said. So, Christina, I really appreciate everything that you do, and you are a wealth of knowledge. I love how you're showing up in our community to serve the families that we have in our community, and thank you for what you do. Audience members, I hope that you've been paying attention. It is very important for us to role model this behavior every step of the way and connect. It's important for our kids to know that we don't have all the answers and the world is not a big bad place, that there's lots of people like Christina willing and able to support us. They want the world to be a better place, and we need to be able to reach out and we need to role model that behavior. So please make sure that you do that by going to the bottom in the description. And there's tons of information that Christina has provided through her website and the links that she's provided. Make sure you click on them, you connect with her, and if you haven't already done so, connect with us by clicking subscribe so you get notification of all the experts that come on the channel, providing their gifts, expertise, and their knowledge with you guys. And together we can actually make family life more fun and humanity's future potential better. Before we finish, Christina, any final words for our audience members today?
Just know that you're not alone. We are here to support you.
Beautifully said. With that said, until next time, guys, cheers.
Thank you.